British Airways Club Europe Business Class or Iberia Short-Haul Business Class. Which of these Oneworld IAG airlines has the best offering in terms of the seat, the onboard service, the food and drink, and the ground service? Now, I've flown Iberia Business Class a couple of times, and I've flown Club Europe dozens of times, so this comparison is going to be based on that combined experience rather than just a single trip. Let's start with the benefits on the ground. Well, both airlines offer fast-track services for check-in and for fast-track security when you fly business class. Luggage allowance is a little bit different. With BA, you get two 32 kilo checked bags per person, whereas on Iberia, the bags are limited to 23 kilos, and the amount of luggage depends on the type of business class fare you've booked. So if you've gone for a flex ticket, for example, you'll get two. If you've only got the Optima or Optimal business class ticket, then you just get the one bag. Once you've gone through security, both airlines then offer lounge access. Now, obviously the lounge availability will vary depending on which airport you're going from, and as they're both Oneworld airlines, a lot of the lounges they can get to are the same. So for this comparison, I'm just going to compare kind of the flagship lounge at their home airports. So for BA, this would be their lounges that they've got in Terminal 5. Now these lounges, to be honest, they are often overcrowded, particularly over summer. A lot of people recommend going to the B-Gates lounge in Terminal 5, but again, I've found that one starting to get quite busy now. I think it's because that tip is often shared online to people. But the lounges themselves, assuming they're not completely rammed full, they are nice spaces. There's generally a good selection of seats. The food offering I quite like as well. There's no a la carte dining or anything, it is all just a buffet, but it's usually decent quality stuff, and there's plenty of selection of drinks available. You know, free pour Prosecco, loads of spirits available, not bad at all. Iberia's lounges in Madrid though, I think may have a slight edge over these. I'd say the food quality is probably on par, but when I've been in the Iberia one, I've probably enjoyed the selection a bit more. For example, there's a much better selection of sweet food and dessert options in the Iberia lounge, where you don't really get anything like that in the BA one. But I think where the Madrid lounge for Iberia really wins out is the amount of natural light and the views out to the tarmac. You know, there's big open windows the whole way along the lounge with loads of great seat options that get these views. There's a few areas in the BA lounges that have natural light, but they are limited. Once you've left the lounge and it's time to get on board, both airlines offer priority boarding for business class passengers. Something that's really important to note about both airlines is that pretty much all of these ground benefits can also be obtained if you have status with the airline. So if these are the benefits that matter to you most when thinking about booking a business class ticket, it's worth considering. If you do have status, you'll get these anyway, so that business class fare on both airlines is less likely to be worthwhile. So with that being said, let's see how the experience differs when you're on board. First up, let's talk seat selection. Well, on BA, unless you do have silver status or above, you're going to have to pay for your seat. Now the pricing can vary for this, but it does really add up if it's multiple people going in a return journey. You know, you can soon add a couple of £100 to your booking. The front row business class is also reserved for people that have gold status or above. So if you don't have that status, you can't even pay to select those seats. On Iberia, it's slightly different. If you do have the Optima business class fare, then again, similar to BA, you're going to have to pay for your seat selection unless you have status. But if you've paid for their top fares, so if you've got a flex ticket for example, then the seat selection is included. Unlike BA as well, they don't block out the front row for top status holders. When I flew with Iberia last, I was a BA Silver status, which is Oneworld Sapphire, and I was able to book the front row on the seat with no issue. In terms of the seat itself, it's a very similar setup on both airlines. If you're on the A320s or A321s, you're going to have basically the same seat as in economy, but the middle seat is blocked out. On some BA flights, they put a tray table in between the two seats, but they don't always have this available. Now, it's obviously not a huge benefit over being in economy, but it does at least mean you're not sharing elbow room with anyone else, so it is a bit more comfortable. But unless you're in that front row, then that knee room and leg room can be a bit restricted. So sometimes I find you're better off actually being in economy in the exit row, just so you've got a bit more leg room. One differentiator to note though is that Iberia do offer daily wide body services between Heathrow and Madrid. So if that's the route you're looking at, you can potentially get a proper lie flat business class seat if you're doing that route. And clearly that is well above the level of comfort that you get on the BA flight. Once you're in the air, you'll then be served your food and drinks. So both of them offer included meals and drinks. For both airlines, catering is provided by Doe & Co, so I will say the quality of food is very similar. The kind of food you get with the menus is going to be different, so the food you get on Iberia is obviously going to be a bit more Spanish inspired, whereas the food you get on BA is a bit more British, things like afternoon tea. But overall, I would say the quality is very comparable. I think when I look at the menus on the BA ones, they tend to have more things that jump out to me as being something that I would want to eat. When I've looked at my Iberia menus both times, there haven't really been things that have appealed to me, but when it's actually come out, it's been really high quality and I've really enjoyed it. In terms of the drink, both offer a good selection of spirits. BA offers champagne, whereas Iberia just has cava, but again, the quality was quite good. For me personally, I couldn't really tell the difference. And I've had some pretty bad champagne on BA flights as well, where it's tasted a bit flat, so I feel like this is one of those things where not really too much difference to me. And what about the service from the crew? Well, I think I've honestly had fairly similar levels of attentiveness and friendliness. I think when I think of the best experiences I've had with crew, it's probably been on those BA flights where they've really gone a step above. Some of them have been really super attentive. The second you're getting low on a drink, they're coming back round to top you up. I've not really experienced that on Iberia, but at the same time, I've also had some service on BA that's been really poor, and I've not had that experience on Iberia. So which one should you go with? Well, in terms of the service on the ground, I think this is a bit of a wash. They're fairly similar experiences. Iberia in Madrid has a slightly better lounge, but if you were flying with BA out of Madrid, you'd have access to the same lounge anyway. Similarly, if you're flying with Iberia out of Heathrow, you can have access to the BA lounge, so fairly similar on the ground experience. Once in the air, you can have a similar level of dining and onboard service. And if you're on those narrow bodies, again, the seat experience is going to be very similar as well, so not too much to call between them. However, one of the main routes that BA and Iberia are actually going to directly compete on is that flight route between Heathrow and Madrid. And if you're going to do this route, then going with Iberia seems like the no-brainer option to me. The fact that they have a daily wide-body flight, whether that's the A330 or the A350, just means that if you really want, you can make sure that you get a really comfortable seat in the sky. Obviously, if the flight times don't work out, there are so many flights they have per day between the two airlines, so you can easily find a flight time that works to you on one of the narrow bodies. If that's the case, honestly, go with whichever one has the best time. The service you'll get and the experience you'll have overall will be so similar. I wouldn't necessarily choose one airline over the other. The only one that gets that edge is Iberia if you can go for the wide body flight. Hope you found that helpful and thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.